What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Game 2 of the Killing Streak Tournament, brought to you by NeoDota. And if you want an alternative version of this cast, check out twitch.tv/NeoDota2 or youtube.com/NeoDota2 for Mout's version of this cast. And of course, go support them. They're trying to bring a lot of great North American content to you guys in the near future. And being a proud American, then I have very great respect for everything that is being done to improve the North American scene. But anyway, we have a matchup between Liquid and EG. This is game number 2. If you have not watched game 1, you can check it out over on my channel, youtube.com/bballin773, and you can go watch it yourself. Not that hard. But yeah, EG played a really strong early game, put on a lot of pressure, even though they had arguably the better late game. They had a lot of team fight. They had pretty much the best team fight you could hope for. They had Enigma, Darkseer, Void, a bunch of ridiculously strong team fight heroes. And then one bad Roshan engagement, and Liquid just seemed to get so much momentum. TC's lifesteal just went on absolute rampage, and Bulba farmed up a lot on his Aegis Prophet, got an MKB, which negated Void's evasion completely, and Liquid managed to roll after that. So we'll see how EG decides to respond in game number 2. This esports rivalry getting off to a nice start already, with EG putting up a strong fight in game number 1. We'll see if they can take it game 2 and try to take the series in game number 3, or if Liquid can add an impressive win to their resume, because they have been looking pretty inconsistent as of late. But Liquid gonna bounce the Barrett here, seeing that EG does have first pick. Interestingly enough, last game, even though EG did not have the first pick, Liquid actually did. EG didn't bounce the Barrett, and Croc was actually able to get great initiations off onto his Barrett, and just really good positioning by Liquid allowed them to win these team fights. So we'll see if EG decides to ban out really team fight controlling heroes like Keeper Light, which is a ban. Batrider, again, a ban by Liquid. Magnus, the Darkseer, teams that really like dictate how the pace of the team fight will go. Or we'll see if EG decides to switch things up and go a bit more aggressive, go a bit more gank heavy, because they seem to have some problems in the mid to late stages of the game. That's why we have coined the phrase, the infamous, the EG throw. A phrase that I want to remind you I did not make up. It's other people in the community, and I'm just copying it for the purposes of this cast. And look again about the PL. EG, I haven't honestly seen them run a PL, but PL probably the best carry in this version thus far. So incredibly good at so many aspects, whether it be split pushing, team fighting, just overall being a pain in the ass. But EG gonna first pick up Darkseer, most likely for Demon in the offlane, although they could potentially run Darkseer jungle, Darkseer mid. Fear has been playing mid a lot more for EG this lately, so Jao has been sort of switched over to a hard carry role. Darkseer is a pretty versatile hero. He does take a little bit of time to get going, but once he gets going, he is so powerful. And of course, Vacuum, the perfect setup to many amazing combinations, whether it be reverse, whether it be black hole, all these incredible combinations. Even Jakiro, Ice Path, Macro Pirate, still very good. In fact, Darkseer is pretty much the only hero that works well with Jakiro these days, who has definitely fallen out of favor. But Liquid gonna pick up the Nyx Assassin. We'll see if they go with Undying as well. Undying has definitely fallen off a little bit, and I think for good reason. He's really more focused on the tri-lane. He is quite strong in the early to mid-game team fights, but after that, he sort of really starts falling out of favor. You know, Nyx Assassin scales well to all aspects of the game, as well as being a complete pain in the ass. And Liquid gonna pick up the Invisibros, the Super Invisible Brothers. They are coming out with their own Nintendo game very soon. Nyx Assassin and Bounty Hunter. So once Bounty Hunter hits level 6 and Nyx Assassin, no support on EG will be safe by themselves. And even if two supports are with each other, I mean, as long as you get a track kill, Liquid are okay with 1-for-1 trades for the most part. But EG drafting pretty standard. They're going to pick up Luna, one of the best carries so far this version. Very strong early game, really strong pusher, and of course very relevant in the late stages of the game. Also, I think does pretty okay against Nyx Assassin. Her ultimate only gets reflected in one beam, not the entire ultimate, like say a giant amount of burst damage from other ultimates that Nyx Assassin could potentially reflect. And she is quite fast, so she can also escape from Bounty Hunter, whereas other carries will have a lot of difficulty from escaping those situations, whether it be Lone Druid, Void, and other carries of that regard. And EG gonna pick up the Chen as well, most likely gonna be Milk Chen, his signature hero in Dota 1, sort of claimed by Puppy in Dota 2, but Milk still plays an exceptional Chen. It's been a long time since I've seen a Milk Chen, but hopefully we'll be in for a treat. As Liquid gonna pick up Tinker, most likely for Bulba, but I wouldn't be too surprised if Karak played it, but it's probably gonna be Bulba mid lane Tinker. keep in mind it was Bulba who pioneered the March Machines Tinker, and if you've ever watched MAAD, Much Ado About Dota, you can see Bulba claims that he invents everything, but it was actually Bulba who invented the March Machine build Tinker, and allowed that to become so popular in Dota 2, and he's really a pioneer of that Tinker playstyle. But we'll see what Liquid decide to do with this Tinker pickup, because Tinker, once he gets his boots travel, just gonna be an absolute menace, can help teleport in to where Bounty Hunter and Nyx Assassin are ganking. So Liquid have a mix of mid to late game action with the Tinker, have really strong gank presence, and overall look pretty solid, although they don't have too much teamfight control. EG again seems to like they have pretty solid teamfight, just on the back of Darkseer pretty much by himself, and they have Luna push. Chen does scale less well compared to Nyx Assassin, Bounty Hunter, and Tinker, but Chen definitely provides a lot of healing, and of course provides a really strong early game push that will synergize quite well with Luna's aura. So Liquid, we'll see what they decide to ban out, or EG, we'll see what they decide to ban out here. It's going to be Bulba, Tinker, most likely mid lane. Probably TC offlane Bounty Hunter, or how are they going to lane this Bounty Hunter? Because usually it's Bulba who plays the offlane for the most part. But I guess it might be TC or Korok playing Bounty Hunter. Probably Korok, because Korok likes being a bit more aggressive. And it's probably going to be Fluff or IX Mike playing Nyx Assassin, but it's probably going to be IX Mike playing Nyx and Fluff playing some wonky support role, because Fluff does use very weird heroes in very different support capacities. And sometimes they work, more often than not they work, but sometimes they just don't work out. But EG, they're going to bet Jakiro, so there goes a potential Triland support. So Nyx Assassin, of course, being a pretty strong support, is melee, can't really control the lane that well. And meanwhile, EG going to bet the Enchantress as well, getting rid of a jungle presence as well as potentially saving Melk's creeps. And so far on Liquid, there isn't really anybody to minus, so we'll see if EG decides to ban something like a Lifestealer right here, so that, or a Clinks, so that the Chen creeps will remain safe for the most of the game. But really, that's pretty difficult to tell at this point. Liquid gonna get rid of the Magnetar, saying, alright, you have Darkseer, we don't want you to have any more teamfight, maybe we'll ban out the Enigma as well. Probably not likely, because Chen's already picked up, and Chen and Enigma do function both very well in the jungle, although we could see potentially Enigma offlane, but most likely we're gonna see a Darkseer offlane. And Liquid gonna ban out Beastmaster as well, so there goes a mid-solo potential hero for EG. Demon does have a very strong Beastmaster, but I think this is more of an offlane Beastmaster, because if you look at these bans at Liquid, Magnus Beastmaster can potentially lane pretty well on the offlane, especially on the range side, where they can skewer or easily escape from the cliffs and can sort of pull the creeps a lot better than if they were on the Dire side. Although Beastmaster does have easier access to ancient stacking on the Dire side. But still, not too sure about this Beastmaster pickup. Maybe they have some sort of super strong BKB carry that they have in mind that they don't want to have roared and really shut down. Well, EG gonna ban out the Puck. Interesting. Maybe they feel like Liquid is really mobile at this point, and they don't really want to be clumped up. And Puck Dreamcoil does sort of force you to get clumped up, otherwise you will just get continuously stunned by that Dreamcoil shattering. But still, really interesting bans thus far. That could also mean that they're protecting a Queen of Pain ban, or a Queen of Pain pickup, because Queen of Pain does do pretty well against Puck, but Puck is one of Queen of Pain's more difficult matchups. Only really OD beats Queen of Pain in the mid lane, but other than that, it's really difficult to say what this Puck is sort of utilized. Maybe they just really hate playing against Puck, and you can't really blame that. Look at that sinister face. That Puck is an absolutely demon. Liquid gonna ban out the Venomancer Luna, pretty potent dual lane. We'll see what EG decides to pick up their secondary lane support here, or if they're gonna pick up perhaps their mid lane solo here. As they do have a couple options left. They could pick up the Queen of Pain again. They could even potentially, if they really want to get super fancy, they could get Chaos Knight Wisp or something like that, because Wisp, interestingly enough, has not been picked or banned thus far. But EG definitely have a couple options left in the pool. Meanwhile, Liquid, they do have their mid lane hero in the Tinker, most likely Bounty Hunter going to be off lane, Nyx Assassin again supporting the tri lane. So Liquid have a little bit more of a stable positioning with their roles thus far. But EG dipping into a bit of their reserve time, they're going to pick up the Shadow Shaman. Interesting. And I'm going to guess that this is actually a support Shadow Shaman. I've seen Vitas run support Shadow Shaman pretty well. He's more known for his support Leshrac, but Shadow Shaman pretty capable support, although I am a bit more in favor of Shadow Shaman getting a lot of experience and getting that fast blink or BKB up where he can really provide so many disales and just become an absolute nuisance in team fights. But support Shadow Shaman ain't too shabby either, and it can also help. I mean, he will just get completely dominated by these ganks if they do come his way, but he can help to sort of control them if they're ganking Luna or something like that. And of course the Shackle, the Hex, the wards will help pushing, so EG going for a bit more of a push lineup. It seems like they have a lot of push on their side, and until Tinker gets a boost of travel, really nothing on Liquid really can stop that push. And even if Tinker does pick up the boots of travel, he really wants to have maybe a Blink Dagger to really escape from wraparound ganks from behind as well. So it might take a little bit of time for Tinker to get those boots of travel. So we'll see how much experience they actually decide to give to Shadow Shaman. If I was EG, I'd put Shadow Shaman in lane and just get the push going ASAP. Otherwise it'll be insanely difficult to push against a Tinker later on, even with Shadow Shaman and Chen. Especially with Chen, his creeps will just melt. If creeps could melt, they would just absolutely melt to those March machines. Meanwhile, Liquid dipping into a lot of their reserve time right here. Probably going to pick up Fluff's hero here, I'm guessing, or they could pick up TC's hero for their hard carry. But Liquid taking a lot of time. Probably going to pick up... No, they're going to pick up OD. Interesting. Really, really interesting. How are they going to lane this? I guess they're going to do safe lane Tinker, allow him to sort of farm boots of travel as fast as possible, put mid lane Outworld Devour, and just sort of dominate whoever's mid lane against him. Again, I don't think there's anybody that could be OD mid except for Huskar, so, you know, if you see OD on the other side, pick up Huskar. That's pretty much the only situation where Huskar could potentially be viable. But Huskar, you know, I'm just waiting for him to get back into the competitive scene. Or at least, not really get back, get into the competitive scene and hopefully stay there for a bit longer. He's a fringe pick every once in a while, but still, I think his best role is beating OD in lane for the most part. But I really doubt EG will pick up the Huskar. Huskar, unfortunately, will just get life breaked, or life break himself down to low HP, setting up very easily for a lot of burst damage on the side. Liquid, whether it be Tinker's Laser, Shuriken, Mana Burn, Impale, Huskar will just get absolutely decimated. So unfortunately we're not going to see Huskar. Instead we're going to see a Pudge. Wow. So EG is going all out early game. They really have no anti-push to speak of. They have a strong push, they have a strong gank just on the back of Pudge. Their team fight is a little bit bad, but they have a Darkseer, so that potentially minimizes all of that. Of course, OD can just sort of one-shot those Wall of Illusion replicas, or Wall of Replica illusions, with that Arcane Orb, but still, he's going to be under a lot of pressure, and it's up to Tinker to really provide a lot of Liquid's game presence on the map. If Tinker can finish up a fast boost of travels, really prevent the pushes, then Liquid should be in overall good position. Even though Luna BKB does counter OD pretty well, it should be enough, especially if Bounty can get his ganks going. And looks like the last pick for Team Liquid is going to be that Rubik, so it's probably going to be Mike playing the Rubik, and maybe Fluff playing the NA. No, it's going to be TC playing the NA. Wow, interesting. Korok's going to be playing that OD. Korok is going to be the mid lane, Bulba is going to be playing the Tinker, and it's going to be Fluff on Bounty Hunter, so we're going to see a support Bounty Hunter, no, most likely not an offlane Bounty Hunter by Fluff, because he rarely ever plays the offlane for the most part. And y'all, on the side of EDG, looks like the players are going to pick up their heroes very, very soon, and Demon's actually playing the Pudge, so it's probably going to be Demon mid lane. No offlane Pudge here, it's going to be Fear playing the offlane. EG does switch up the roles from time to time, and Demon and Fear are very experienced players, but, you know, I'd sort of like them to see it play a bit more stably. But I guess Demon probably has a better Pudge, or maybe he just thinks he has a better Pudge compared to Fear. As we can finally introduce players and teams. I already introduced in most of Liquid, but why not reintroduce myself? My name is Liquid. L to the IQUID. Alright, I'm not. Liquid's actually not Jay-Z. But yeah, it's going to be Fluff playing that Bounty Hunter, Korok's playing the Outworld Devourer, who I will call OD, because I still think Obsidian Destroyer is the best name. But damn you, Blizzard! Copyrighted that name. And so Outworld Destroyer seems to be copyrighted as well. You know what, I wish they'd just call him freaking Harbinger, or Harbringer. I think it's Harbinger. But still. Anyway, TC is going to be playing the NA, Bulba is playing the Tinker, IXMech is playing the Rubik. We'll see what spells IXMech can steal this game. IXMech has really been on a tear recently. Really playing support roles very, very well. Of course, he's always been playing very, very well, but recently he's just stepped his game up immensely, and he's really helped Liquid get a lot of these wins. Meanwhile, instead of EG, we're going to have Fear playing the Darkseer. It looks like Demon is going to be playing the Pudge. JL is playing the Luna, Beat is playing the Xiaoshan, and Melk is playing his signature Dota 1 Chen. Also very powerful in Dota 2, as looks like this Sentry Ward is going to block this camp. Nicely placed by Fluff, as two Sentry Wards already forced by EG, and looks like they're actually having a very difficult time spotting this Sentry Ward, because I think they knew Fluff placed a ward somewhere, or maybe that was TC. No, they finally do clean up, so at least they can pull, but they did waste a lot of time. But now at least they can be sure that no magic bush ward is placed, because I don't think Chen really wants to go to offensive jungle. But if Liquid really want to get under EG's skin, they could potentially place a ward here and just really annoy the shit out of Chen. But still, these three camps, even if that camp was warded off, is good enough for Chen for the most part. So we'll see how Liquid decides to lane. It's going to be TC off lane. TC off lane won't really be able to do too much. He has mana burn at L1, so we'll mitigate potentially the sales that can be thrown out by Xiaoshan. But, I mean, if Beatus plays his cards right, then TC should theoretically get no experience. NA doesn't have invisibility till level 6, and doesn't really have the best mana pool either, and won't have access to Spiked Carapace for a bit. But actually, TC doing a nice job getting a bit of experience and actually pushing Beatus off. And unfortunately, the bad thing about Xiaoshan is, again, he wants to get experience. He doesn't really want to be sort of pressuring TC out of the lane where he won't get too much experience. He wants to be pulling, he wants to be in the lane. And if he's in the lane, then he can't really sort of pressure TC back. As we can see, a lot of harassment being thrown out on Melk already by Fluff. So it looks like Liquid really want to take control of this bottom lane thus far, as TC is going to get pressured back by Joe saying, screw farm, I'm going to kill TCs. And TC, no spiked Carapace, and Luna very high base movement speed. But Joe decided not to push his luck, decided to go for a bit more of safe farm, and is going to have that up very, very soon. And looks like the top lane by EG has been abandoned completely. Really, no lane that EG can push up there other than maybe an aggressive Trident or a dual lane could beat down the OD. Solo versus solo, OD will just win every single time. Unless, of course, there is a Huskar. Crossing my fingers. Return of Huskar. But yeah, OD is going to have absolute free farm, and never really want to give a player like Korok free farm in any situation. We'll see what he decides to go for, whether he goes for fast mecha. Might go for fast mecha. I imagine he's going for fast mecha. No real natural mech carriers on the side of Liquid. And probably going to go into 4-staff after that. Won't pick up any hard carry items for quite a bit, I imagine. As there's going to be a wraparound gang onto Demon, going to take a big damage from Fluff from that double damage rune. But looks like Fluff still just level 1. Doesn't have access into that Janata slow. So unfortunately, can't hurt Demon too much. But did at least force him to pop a salve. And meanwhile, Bulba is controlling this main lane very, very well. Bulba Tinker, or mid lane Tinker, does have potential to die to Pudge, but Bulba's Tinker, really, really strong, really, really smart. As Fluff is going to get hooked, but just going to get shadow walked away, and that means Pudge, of course, going to lose out a bit in terms of mana. So it looks like mid lane is being thoroughly lost by EG thus far. Top lane is being lost, and bot lane is being reasonably contested, but now that Fluff has actually left, then looks like TC will be in a bit more of a difficult situation. So the question is for EG, when will Melk come out of the jungle and decide to get the push going? Because really not too much NA can do about that. And the question for EG, again, is Melk. The question for Liquid is, how fast can Bulba get those boots of travel? Because once he gets those, then EG will just find it super difficult to push in, especially since Beat is really not getting too much experience. He won't have access to those wards for quite a bit. And those wards really will help EG push in when the creeps are constantly being shredded by the Macho Machines. The wards will stand strong against the threat of the Tinker Robot Army, which are actually mini Terminators, or mini Matrix people, Agent Smiths. Look at these motherfucking Agent Smiths. I hate them so much. But Demon, 0 for 2 on hooks thus far. Oh, I just realized another possible combination, as Fluff is going to go in for a bit of rest and try to steal a creep here and there. Unfortunately, Shadowwalk is on cooldown, so can't pop out just yet unless TC is there, which he is there. And Fluff is going to take a nice creep for himself. Going to have boots up very, very soon. But actually, if you saw the Root vs. Fnatic game, you saw that Monkeys with, who is the Root Chen? I think DDX. Just used the cheeky Chen-Pudge combination where Pudge hooks a person and Chen sends the Pudge back at the fountain at the same time. So EG could potentially do that. I think, did Root have a Keeper of the Light on that game for the recall? I don't think they did. Actually, I think the opposition had a Keeper of the Light. They had a Beastmaster, so they could send the Hawk in anywhere they wanted and just really gank from anywhere that they possibly wanted to. But I don't think that's probably EG's #1 priority to troll it up I know they really want to get up to a really good start in the series, and that's a very good combination. But Root Monkeys just missed all of his hooks in that game. If you haven't watched it, it is a defense game. I think Kuroki and Toby were completely befuddled by what happened in that game. I think Kuroki called it like crap Dota for the most part. It was pretty funny. As there's going to be approached by TC and onto the life for Beat is very slow Shadow Shaman, very slow base movement speed as here comes the Shadow Walk, but TC actually going to get a block. TC is going to pick up the last hit as Fluff is going to reveal himself. He is going to exchange his life, but still managed to get a kill against a dual lane, potentially a tri-lane with Chen in the jungle for a support bounty hunter. Very, very nicely done by Fluff. And TC is going to hit level 6 a lot sooner than he otherwise would have, and will have access into early game whatever item he decides to go for, whether it be early arcane boots, null talisman, whatever he wants. TC will have a lot easier time going for that. And considering this isn't a support NA, it's going to be a bit more of a farming NA. When I say that, he's not really farming that well either because he is off lane. But still, he's going to get more farm than he would have if he was a support. NA will just be a very big factor in mid game, so EG so far doesn't seem to be doing that well. And looks like Fear decides to abandon the jungle after helping Milk clear out the creep blaze, waiting for a level 5 so he can survive a lot more easy. So he has 2 points of surge, so he can't just get imprisoned away from that level 2 imprison. And actually OD is taking a bit of damage from these creeps. Looking at the OD farm, he picked up a super fast Tanamite. It's not only going to accelerate his experience growth, and OD is one of those carries you want to have max level on all your skills. So experience growth, and also the gold growth, going to be super powerful. Keep in mind, OD is one of those carries with pretty high natural agility growth. I think it was buffed a couple of patches ago to 2.3 or 2.4, so that is definitely not too shabby. And combine that with the minus attack speed, Korok will actually be attacking very, very quickly. And other than Luna, there's no real natural BKB carriers on the side of EG. So that could be pretty troublesome if Korok continues his farming spree. But Fear, again, not really expected to do too much in this lane other than survive and try to pick up some levels. As bleh, can't speak apparently. Of course, when have I ever been able to speak? And I answer you with this: never. Meanwhile, Jayo can continue his farm, didn't go for the minus, just going for the Stern Luna build. Tranquils into drums, into yada yada. I really not a huge fan of drums on Luna. Or if you do get drums, just go for treads for a bit more HP or a bit more strength, but you know, I'm a bit more of a greedy carry player. I like to get those big items ASAP, and there's a reason why people go for the drums and the tranquil boots, the bit more of the Stern build, because it works and it helps to win games. But oddly enough, Luna hasn't been nearly as successful in the Western scene compared to her success in the Eastern scene. So that's just something interesting to know. As see the Pudge Demon rolling around with the IX Mike stash. We'll see if Demon can get a hook onto IX Mike. Or Bulba, who is getting very, very close to those boots travel, has that soul ring up, as there's going to be a hook in for a weird purple box. Maybe it's a bug with the hook, not too sure, but he did whip the hook. But fortunately for Demon, he does have a regen rune, so he can continue to farm that. And we'll see if the Ancients are being stacked. No, Fluff not going to stack the Ancients just yet. So Bulba is just going to have to lane for his farm for the most part. But still, Bulba against Demon, definitely a matchup that Bulba does favor. But now that Demon does have access into that level 6, it's just going to be a lot more difficult, and Bulba will have to keep an eye out on his positioning. As Fluff going to spot a wild Milk in the forest. Really, Fluff can't get the kill unless TC does decide to help out. TC is level 6, so they could potentially do a wraparound gank, but EG does have an observer ward. Will it spot TC going invisible, as it is past the 6-minute mark, so the wards have been renewed? And Milk is just going to play it super safe, but he is going to spot TC, I think. He did see TC go uphill, but then TC did a smart job vendetting outside of the range of the ward and going to pick up a very easy kill on Milk. Really nicely played by TC, baiting like he was potentially going to go mid or top to secure a kill on Fear or Demon, and then just wrap around getting an easy kill on Milk, and that's going to delay Milk's mecha by quite a bit. And Beat is really suffering, only level 3 so far on that Shadow Shaman. And you can see, for the most part, EG is getting quite out-farmed. As TC is going to get Lucent Beam right in the face. Here comes a Shackle, but Shackle does do damage, so it gets immediately cancelled. And a nice 2-man Impale, as Beat is, interesting enough, did not get a second point to Hex, but it looks like Luna does pick up an easy kill on the back of Jayo's death. And looks like Demon managed to get a hook onto IX Mike, and really Bulba couldn't do anything to help Mike in that situation. So far it is 3-2 in favor of EG. But still, I don't think the pace of the game favors EG at this point. As unfortunately the tower not able to be taking too much damage, as there's constantly a threat of Fluff or TC reinforcing the ganks. So Melk can't really push in as easily as he wants to, as is normal in most Charlene vs. solo situations. If this was just a solo bounty hunter, then they could just push in and really the bounty hunter couldn't do anything to stop that. But since there's dual lanes and since Beta is really not having any impact in this game thus far, it's going to be a lot more difficult, as Beta, interestingly enough, did go for his 2 points in Shackles. Wonder if that was a misclick or just intended for that, as it does give him 0.75 increase in stun duration, as it's going to be a gank attempt by Demon, but he is going to be the one who's going to get ganked instead, and it's going to be an easy kill for Bulba. And now he's going to have Boots of Travel up very, very soon. He does have the ball, constantly ball couriering it up. But Demon paying for his over-aggressive play by just a bit. And that means Bulba will have his Boots of Travel up very, very soon, and that could be very dangerous for EG, because once the Invisibros go ganking, once, if ever, Fluff hits level 6, then pretty much nobody on the map for EG is safe unless they're pretty much all grouped up as 5. And TC just gonna help babysit Bulba while he picks up his Boots of Travel. If Pudge does get a hook off, which he does get onto TC, Spike Carapace is gonna delay that, as looks like for some reason Demon looks like he canceled the rot, or Spike Carapace did stun him, but I thought he popped Spike Carapace when the rot was first casted, but still managed to get an easy kill. But Bulba didn't die, and that's the most important thing for Liquid. Meanwhile, there's going to be a push happening on the bottom lane, and you can see Bounty Hunter's ineptitude in times of scaring away this push. Nice micro by Mel, constantly delaying the creep wave. And also the Satyr, pretty important, gives him some nice HP regen with the armor creep by the Wildkin. Means that this creep wave pretty hard to bring down. But Bulba gonna finally have those Boots travel up. Unfortunately, it's on the courier, so it's gonna take a bit of time to ship away until he wants to rearm and get himself back in there. But looks like EG unable to provide too much damage onto the tower just yet. Meanwhile, Korok continued to farm up. 74 last hits in 12 minutes, farming up at a very, very fast pace. Is that a mecha or a force staff? It is going to be the mecha. So keep in mind, OD pretty much the only mechanism carrier on the side of Liquid. Makes a lot of sense. Let's see if he goes back into force staff or he decides to go maybe a bit more greedy, go for like straight up Hex. As it's probably going to be back in force staff. OD desperately wants mobility, as otherwise he's extremely easy to gank. And Bulba just going to teleport around, trying to save Korok, or potentially just bait out a gank onto Korok, because EG knows that Korok's free farming for the most part. Or maybe they're going to do a bit of U-Home X action, which is just constantly teleport, spam rockets, teleport back, refuel all your mana, spam rockets again. But no, they're going to try to pick up a kill onto the dark side. He's going to get imprisoned out of the surge. Fear going to take a bunch of damage as Hennigat does fly in. But Luna does teleport up to the top lane, does manage to kill off Tinker. Here comes Dale on the offensive. Mechanism is popped by Korok, but here comes Rasta. Unfortunately, Beat is not fast enough, and Jail does get imprisoned, so Korok's life is safe. Meanwhile, Fluff is going to teleport to the top, and is going to get shackled. The Centaur is there, and Fluff is going to die so close to level 6. This is super unfortunate for Fluff, but really nice Centaur placement by EG. Knowing that with Korok being ganked, there's a potential that Nyx could teleport in, a potential that Bounty Hunter could come in, and EG recognized that that could happen, and they reacted accordingly. But Korok is still farming, and he's still farming very, very well. Meanwhile, Demon is going to smoke up. What can he do? As Demon, a master of that cloning blade, constantly cuts down trees to get himself the best positioning. As TC is going to go Vendetta. Keep in mind, level 1 Vendetta, 20-second duration, but gonna initiate onto Jail. Here comes the telekinesis by Mike. No, just gonna use a Fable, and Melk is gonna be caught in place by that telekinesis. And easy double kill being picked up by Mike. Mike KSing all the time. What a terrible support. Nope, but just kidding. That is gonna give Mike into access into either Arcane Boots or most likely just a lot of wards, as Demon missing the hook. Gonna get absolutely demolished by the Devourer and all his friends. And Fluff was able to get a track kill from that. I'm not too sure. I think he was. And that is gonna fuel Liquid's golden take by a lot. And again, I do believe Liquid do have the better late game, especially with Beatus really not having too much of a presence on the map. He's not gonna have access into that Hex for quite a bit. And looks like this tier 1 tower is gonna end up dying. pretty much for free. Rubik does pick up the last hit. Man, IX Mike filthy rich at this point. Gonna have those Arcane Boots, some wards, and can start working on his Force Staff or Ghost Scepter very, very soon. Probably not a Ghost Scepter, probably a Force Staff. But now he has access into that very low cooldown Lucent Beam from a very long range away. Will do a lot of damage, so what will EG do to respond to this? Again, it's not like Chen is going to get any stronger as this game goes on. Unfortunately, Milk did decide to go for Arcane Boots rather than going for the Mechanism, so that's going to delay EG's push for the most part. As JO is going to get ganked, here comes a lot of damage, but level 1 laser not doing nearly enough. And is that level 1 Shuriken as Fluff is going to get hooked in. Nice hook by Demon. Manages to get an easy kill onto Fluff, paying for the gank attempt onto JO. JO, will he go back to the fountain? No, just going to heal up with those Triangle Boots. This is why Triangle Boots is so good on Luna. So he can constantly take a bit of damage and just heal it all back up. As yes, that was a level 1 Shuriken toss, so that burst damage underestimated very, very much by Liquid. Maybe they didn't anticipate the drums being already fished on JO. But now what will EG do? As Fear is going to surge in, trying to get a vacuum. Does get a vacuum into Bulba. Beautiful coordination by EG. As the hook does come in, and IX Mike going to cast a vacuum as well. Fable. IX Mike single-handedly gonna defend the tower from the wrath of EG for a bit. And Korok just gonna push on the top lane. But really, really strong coordination by EG. That Fear vacuum with the hook really well timed by the Americans. As I imagine this game's played on US East. As Pudge does get an easy tower deny, nicely done. And Korok's just going to teleport back to the jungle to use his Animation just to farm a bit more safely. But you can see already in terms of map control, EG falling behind have lost 2 tier 1s compared to just 1 on the bottom lane by Liquid. And you can see it's really difficult for Chen to farm up against these Invisibros as he is constantly in danger of being picked off. As you can see, Milk not even bothering, just going to use his creeps to scout out, and TC is going to reveal himself, so Milk's just like, screw you guys, I'm just going to farm with my creeps, as TC angrily tries to kill the creeps, but creeps just too tank. But what is EG's next move? What items are they going to go for? BKB, still quite a ways away on Luna, 1900 gold away. Beatis does have access into those Serpent Wards. Maybe they're going to wait for him to get Hex, maybe they're going to look for some more ganks by Pudge. Pudge, really not too sure what items he's going to go for. Probably a Force Stab, most likely. Maybe they're waiting on Milk's Mecha. It's about 650 gold away. I think they're waiting on Milk's Mecha, but it's still going to allow Liquid a lot of time to farm up all over the place, get a lot of levels, and allow Bulba to pick up whatever item he decides to go for, whether it be Blink or Force. Probably a Blink, so he can have easier access into spamming the March machines from very safe locations. But you can see EG actually a little bit hesitant. They definitely don't want to be caught out alone against March Machines. Tinker and the Invisibro is constantly ganking in from all directions. So that's why EG sort of clumped up. And those 2 towers having been lost, definitely not the best for them. As Pudge able to get an easy kill onto IX Mike. Unfortunately, I did miss that. But meanwhile, Fluff is going to try to take some Milk's creep. Is there any detection? There is a Sentry Ward as the Thunderclap does go onto Fluff. Is there going to be a reinforcement? Fluff is just going to get absolutely annihilated by Jail and the Test of Faith. So nice Sentry Ward placement. I think that might block off this camp, but it doesn't really matter to Milk. As he already has 3 very loyal creeps to his name. But meanwhile, it looks like Darkseer is going to get imprisoned. Should be okay. Nobody there to reinforce OD, and Darkseer getting close to his pipe. That will be very good against the OD ultimate, as well as the Mana Burn and the Fable, but that's pretty much it. And you can see Korok finishing the Force Staff and now has access into Hex, into Atos, into whatever he wants. Hopefully Hex, not the Rod of AUI, but we'll see. As Tinker does finish up the Blink Dagger, so now he can farm with those Marcher Machines a lot more safely. You just shift Q as soon as you teleport in, you just blink out to here and position yourself to March Machines. Just constantly clear the creep layers. Very, very low risk. And really, Dota is a lot about being low risk these days, whether farming with PL or just farming with March Machines. Well, not really all about low risk. Just certain heroes really benefit from low risk situations like Tinker and PL. As Demon gonna get surged up to rock creeps angrily. And EG really not sure where to poke in. Well, their tier 2s on the top lane at full HP. So if EG do want to make a push going, that tier 2 should be safe for quite a bit. EG unfortunately do not have the glyph, so that might be what they're waiting for. Meanwhile, Liquid going to place observer all over the map, trying to scout out Demon's positioning for the hooks, and also going to try to scout out potential wraparound gank onto OD. And also a common location to smoke up if you are on the lane is around here, and that observer will spot out the smoke. So Korok should constantly be safe, or if Bulba does decide to teleport in there, he should be safe as well. But checking out the gold graph, slightly in favor of the Dire. Not too many track kills, but they do have a slight tower advantage. Experience graph only ever so slightly in favor of the Dire. As you can see, EG definitely playing it very close. They do have a slight kill advantage, but I still feel like they have an overall weaker late game. I mean, they have Darkseer and they have Luna. And they have Pudge, who scales pretty well to the late game, but Roster will get bursted down, considering he's not going to get BKB probably ever, unless the game goes on to 60 minutes. And Chen just becomes a lot weaker as the game goes on. Meanwhile, Liquid, none of their heroes really becomes too weak other than Bounty Hunter if he doesn't get too much track kills. But still, Bounty Hunter pretty much there just for his track. NA skills, Tinker skills, Rubik skills, OD skills, everybody skills. It's a giant scaling party, which EG is not invited to, and I'm sure EG is very, very sad. Or at least Chen is invited to the giant scaling party. As Korok might be in a bit of trouble. Will there be a smoke attempt? As imagine Jail pretty close to his BKB. He is about 50 gold away. And once this ancient stack has been cleared up with the mechanism finished onto Milk, I think that will be a sign of a push. But they might just lose Fear right here as Liquid Fluff does come in. Gonna get an easy kill onto Beatus, sacrificing himself for Fear. As Korok trying to get himself out of there. But Fear is gonna pick up a kill with Demon right there. And it's time for Liquid to get the heck out of there. As here comes Jail with the Eclipse raining down. But you can see the beam only got reflected once. As a beautiful hook by Demon able to clean up the retreating TC. And EG won that teamfight decisively. I think Liquid decided to just play a bit more split up, and keep in mind all 5 of EG heroes were there. Meanwhile, only 3 of Liquid's heroes were there. But this Volunteer 1 tower is still relatively healthy in terms of HP, so Bubba can't push it down too much. Was BKB used by Jail? No, it was not. Nicely done by Jail. He will have access to that 10-second BKB charge even after that engagement. So EG suddenly looking in a lot better positioning, as now they have a lot of map control on their side, and now they can potentially make ganks for that top lane, as Mike might find himself in a rough position. Fear trying to wrap himself around Demon is going to get surged up, trying to catch off Mike, but Mike able to retreat, as Demon unfortunately not the best in night vision. Gonna just run away from Mike. But EG taking 2 towers, taking decisive kill advantage, should be pretty ahead in terms of experience. Gold earned will take a slight lead for the Radiant. Experience advantage will probably be around 3k when all is said and done for the Radiant as well. But Beatus unfortunately did die, so again, he's going to be very delayed on whatever item he decides to go for. As he pretty much saw Vendetta, 1 Impale, and a Shuriken means the death of Beatus. Maybe he doesn't even need a Shuriken. But Jayo going to accelerate his farm greatly. And we'll pick up that Manta Style. If he manages to pick up a Manta Style with still around 9 seconds left on his BKB, that could be pretty deadly for Liquid, as there's really nothing on side Liquid that does go through the BKB of Luna. And keep in mind, OD is pretty much mitigated just by BKB. His Arcane Orb does 0 damage, or 0 additional damage because of that BKB. As Demon gonna hook in, they anticipate a Roshan, sneaky Roshan attempt by Liquid. But Demon's just like, you know, fire and forget. As there is going to be a tower taken by Liquid, but it looks like EG is trying to push in, but Beat is going to take so much damage from these March Machines. As will the pipe be popped by Fear? Yes, it is popped. They're trying to go in as March Machines. The stacks are wearing off, and will Beat is drop the wards here. Looks like Liquid trying position to try to take this teamfight. Korok gonna wrap around, as here come the Rockets, and Demon is gonna get imprisoned, as here comes the engagement. Boom goes the dynamite pretty soon onto Demon, as he's gonna take so much damage. Hand God comes in super late, as maybe that's a bit of Melk's delay playing on European server, but Melk's gonna lose his life as well. Jao's just gonna like, screw you guys, I'm going home, as fortunately Beat is able to escape. So EG 2 deaths for the price of a tier 2. But Korok did get a mega kill streak off of Demon, and Liquid had the potential to Roshan in. As Pudge recognizes this, they are going to buy back, try to reinforce that. As will Liquid be able to claim the Roshan quickly enough? Do EG know that there is a Roshan engagement taking place? I think they do know something's up, as they're trying to get in position. As IX Mike gonna rot away, Milk Centaur is gonna scout out the competition, but IX Mike gonna take a hook right to the chin, as looks like the Lucent Beams are flying down from the Eclipse, as unfortunately the Roshan is unable to be claimed, as IX Mike is gonna buy back. BKB used by Luna, but Milk is back in the action, will have access to the mechanism. Hand of God still on cooldown. This is a very, very dicey situation, especially for EG. BKB is on cooldown, but they have access into the vacuum and wall combination. But IX Mike probably doesn't want to have to use his buyback just for nothing. But still, better he buy back and save the Roshan rather than give up the Roshan for free. As Milk's creep gonna die very fast, but it was just a trap, but still, nice 4-staff reaction as IX Mike, really nicely done by Demon, always constantly casting the rot right after the hook. Not only just to get that bit of initial rot damage if he manages to hook somebody, but also making sure that IX Mike never has access to that hook. As Korok gonna go back in, not afraid of anything. And EG do not suspect a thing, as they might now suspect some things up. No, Fluff doing a nice job positioning himself, constantly being invisible, and Korok gonna take an easy Aegis. Keep in mind EG's vision, unable to really scout out Korok's movement into the Roshan pit. What does this ward exactly see? I need to find out. Radiant. Could it possibly have scouted Korok out? Maybe we're thinking Korok was baiting or trying to pick up an M, as Fear is going to get ganked on the top lane. Will he escape? He will escape. Surge just too good, but there's going to be a wraparound attempt by Korok. Gonna get the imprison off. Will they go on the pursuit? 4-second imprison is a lot of time, but that is gonna allow Fear to get access back into the surge. As man, the Sanity's Eclipse is being casted just to clean up a kill. As here comes Demon on the offensive, unfortunately unable to get a hook up, and the hook was stolen by IX Mike. Can he get a return hook off onto Demon? Demon's taking a bunch of damage. He's gonna die. As EG gonna be out of position. Level 1 Lace is still not doing nearly enough damage, but Milk is gonna die in a couple more hits. Gonna die to the OD so fast with that increased movement speed. And now, Beat is going to have to be on the retreat. Meanwhile, Luna is going to push to the top lane. It's going to be a tower trade, but still a nice kill advantage going in favor of Liquid in that engagement, as they took 3 for nothing. Didn't even lose an Aegis. I think F2 and F3 are the hotkeys for the fog for each of the other teams. I need to check really fast. Yeah, I guess I should learn those hotkeys. F1, F2, F3. F1 is fog for all, F2 is fog for Radiant, F3 is fog for Dire. So, that's pretty useful to know. As you can tell, I am merely but a lowly scrub. As Dire do have the gold advantage, still nothing to write home about just yet. As tower count slightly in favor of EG, but the track kill is giving Liquid a nice bounty. And of course, Roshan giving Liquid a nice edge in terms of gold experience graph. Slightly in favor of Dire, and again, I do believe Dire do have the better late game, but still, 30 minutes in the game almost, and Luna's only used 1 BKB charge, and has only died once. That's pretty significant. As more often than not, when Luna picks up pretty early BKB, she is forced to use a lot of BKB charges very early on because she's very squishy, but will have access to that med style as well as the BKB for a good amount of time. So all is not lost with EG just yet, but Tinker does pick up the Hex. Where did Bulba pick that up from? He did manage to get like a, I think, 18-minute dagger, but still was not expecting the Hex this fast with the tower gold. The Roshan gold definitely helped out Bulba's farm. And I don't think EG will suspect this early of a Hex. EG just gonna do some dewarding, maybe in anticipation of a smoke. Not gonna smoke up. Observer ward is spawning out the vision all the while. Fluff is gonna get Lucent Beam, but now he knows that there is a sentry ward very close by. As hooked by Demon just off the mark, and by just off the mark I mean completely miles away, never stood a chance. But still, better to hook too much than to hook up too little. Good philosophy, not only in Dota, but also in life. Unless, of course, you hook up with very, very sketchy people. We'll put it mildly. I'm just saying, always wear protection. As there's gonna be a hook attempt. That was a weird interaction. As Demon got sent home by Chen. Nicely done, but here comes the Blinking Hex onto Milk. TC is there for the reinforcement, but Eclipse is being popped away. Jail is going to try to do as much damage as possible, but nobody else on his team there to reinforce it, and Jail is going to use that 9-second BKB charge. to pretty much drive Liquid away to very low HP, but unfortunately not able to pick up any kills because EG not in the best positions to really reinforce jail. So that's a bit unfortunate for EG. Used an ultimate and used a BKB charge for nothing, as they're going to see that root combination. Man, they are going to do it. They're pulling off the hook into teleport back to the fountain. Pretty funny. But the question is, will it actually work? Checking out net worth, OD pretty far ahead. Keep in mind he still has a tower deficit, but that minus the kill score of OD. 3-1-4, only dying once. That minus definitely paying off so far, and that Roshan last hit, helping out OD quite a bit. Checking out the GPM, OD and Luna pretty high, as they are both trying to compete in farm. Keep in mind Luna can farm stacks a lot more quickly, as Demon gonna get the hook into the fountain. You can see the TC being hooked all the way to his grave, and there goes Dismember. Oh my god, that is just so funny. But still, EG gonna give him a tower essentially for the price of an NA, and TC's probably just like, what? But still, they got a tower, so, you know, not the worst thing to ever happen to TC, I'm sure. Meanwhile, Fluff, finding level 11, has access into that level 2 track. Shorter cooldown, more money, less problems in Dota. As Biggie Smalls lied to you. Only about Dota though, everything else Biggie Smalls is clearly right. As Jao just gonna farm up on the bottom lane, probably baiting out a gank attempt by Tinker. But smoke attempt by EG trying to pick off somebody. IX Mike might be the recipient, as there is a gem in place. Lucid being casted by IX Mike. Very fast fingers, but still not fast enough, as Vita is almost died. Was that actually an Eclipse? I think it was. No, I think that was just another Lucid beam. Actually, I'm not too sure. Whatever. Whatever the case, Vita survives. IX Mike dies. And Pudge's mustache reigns supreme. Look at that mustache. Super swag. YOLO 420. LG no scopes. Unfortunately, no look at echoes in this game. But still, checking out the graphs, dire slight goal advantage, or pretty decent goal advantage, but definitely 5k can be easily overcome. Slight experience advantage in favor of the dire, and look at these wards by Liquid, as they're trying to scout out all the positioning of EG, where they smoke up, where they try to make an aggressive maneuver to try to place wards themselves. You know, just really unconventional wards being placed by Liquid, but really unable to be de-warded. But IX Mike did have the gem, and the question is, who on EG has the gem now? And that is Fear. Fear, pretty difficult to bring down. But OD doesn't care about magic resistance, and looks like he's going to go for a Refresher rather than Linken's, I think. Linken's pretty good as well. Can stop most of Rasta's damage, stop the Pudge Dismember, but you can't just Lucid Beam it away, or Test of Faith it, or Penitence it. But Refresher, OD, Sanity's Eclipse, double Sanity's Eclipse, considering OD has pretty much 151 intelligence. We'll just do a number to Pudge with only 48 intelligence, and Fear, 71 intelligence. Milk, even with only 58 intelligence being Intel Hero. That double Sanity's Eclipse pretty much will mean that Liquid has a team fight down on lock. So I'm not too sure whether it be a Linken's or a Refresher. If I have to bet, it's going to be a Refresher, as he potentially could have already had the Linken's right now. Well, he could potentially have the Refresher as well. I think he's probably going to sell the minus after one more usage. And TC level 20, just looking at the levels, you can see TC and Jail keeping up relatively well. But TC did have the Aegis for quite a bit. Roshan is going to respawn in about 3.5 minutes. And EG trying to get some map control back, because it's so hard to get map control versus a Tinker. But still, they have to find a way, otherwise Roshan will be taken very, very quickly. Especially since TC's Arcane Orb does so much damage now. As another hook attempt attempted by Demon. Unfortunately, all for naught. But it's still putting the fear into Liquid's hearts, as this is a terror that I'm sure they haven't experienced. In a professional setting, at least. Maybe they should ask Fnatic for some tips. But hey, I mean, they've only got hooked once by that combination, so they're doing something right. Even though I think EG's only attempted it like 4 or 5 times. As Bounty Hunter gonna scout out the way. We'll take a look at the items really fast. IX Mike, Arcane Boots, had that pretty early on. Bracer looks like he's gonna go for drums. Meanwhile, TC looks like he's going to go for BKB. BKB, nothing on side rate, and goes for the BKB. Again, Karak holding in onto that Perseverance. Fluff holding on to various miscellaneous items. Bulba has the Hex, going to go for Lincoln Sphere himself or Manta. Meanwhile, on the side of EG, Jo going to go for that Butterfly. Keep in mind, Jo does have access into the 8-second BKB, so that's still pretty good. It's only once it hits around 7 that EG might start to worry about that OD versus Jo matchup. Demon unfortunately not able to make too much item progression. And Fear gonna work his way towards an Aghanim's, but that is still quite far away. And Ichi just posture on really trying to look for an opening, but Liquid just doing staring stuff. Farming with Tinker, farming the jungle. And really, EG, super difficult for them to push out because of Tinker's annoying presence. And Tinker constantly farming in very low risk situations with that dagger. And EG trying to get some map control. They know Roshan will respawn very, very soon. And they're trying to deward the Roshan spot as much as possible, trying to get the map control. And keep in mind, Liquid can try to deward it themselves, but EG will have the upper hands just because Liquid will have to expose themselves by warding it up. But still, Bulba going to be pushing this top lane, and that's going to force one teleport at the very least. As it's probably going to be Jo. Jo has that Butterfly. Probably... not too sure what he's going to go for next. If I had to guess, it would probably be Satanic. I think that would probably be the best item choice. I don't think MKB or Crystallis is probably that good. I think he has enough DPS. So I think Satanic. He just needs to get bulky in case that BKB does run out to a very low duration. And EG not worrying about this tower just yet. They are going to have to send somebody back eventually, because there is another creep wave coming in. But at least the wagon does die. So EG going to be, you know, safe for a little bit. But once the next wagon comes in, EG will have to send somebody back. Otherwise, the tower will take a lot of damage and potentially even be in last hittable range. But still, EG playing very, very safe. They know if they lose this game, they are not out of the turn by any means. This is, again, a King of the Hill style tournament. But they are going to be out of the luck for at least $100 for this week. And I'm sure everybody wants $100. As it's probably just going to be 20 because $100 split amongst 5 players is just 20. Man, Dota needs more money. But ESL hopefully will help the European scene out at the very least. And hey, American scene out as well, if Americans can make it there. And Bulba continuing to farm up. EG really just don't have an answer for this Tinker, as it's just super difficult to deal with him. As again, a hook attempt by Demon going to be thwarted once again. And Demon looks like he's going to disassemble Tranquils, go for Travels. At least that's what I think he's doing. Going to pick up the farm very, very soon. But that is going to give Liquid, for the most part, a free Roshan, and there's really nothing EG can do to contest this. Unless they start just rushing blind with the BKB. And that might be a good option. Darkseer still probably the king of the Roshan in this situation at the very least. But that Roshan is dying so fast, and Refresher is up on TC. So EG just choosing not to fight that engagement whatsoever. But still, TC's gonna get, or Korok's gonna get more and more intelligence. And more items to help fuel that double Sandy's Eclipse. And Liquid, they don't even have to push in. They can just keep stalling. They can wait for Tinker to finish a full inventory. Because EG, again, Xiao Shan can only dream of getting a BKB. Chen going to become less and less effective. We're already starting to see the effectiveness of Pudge start to wear off. And Luna, I mean, she's doing a good job. But still, Luna by herself will not be able to carry against all of these heroes against Liquid. Especially as BKB charges start to run out. So EG going to have to do something. And looks like the solution is just to do another hook attempt. But the hook was blocked? No, the hook was mistimed. He actually got too close to NA. And the hook actually ended before Demon could get sent back. Was not expecting NA to be there. And Liquid just going to take the tower and just say, screw it, we don't have to fight you guys. We have better lane game. Fluff even picks up a freaking Hex. Hex on Bounty Hunter. Pretty good. Meanwhile, TC pretty close to his BKB. And what honestly can EG do against this? Maybe just Wait for Jo to pick up a couple tier items so that the Manta illusions can split push by themselves. As so far, this is the best option for EG. The creepy Equilibrium is in favor for the first time in a while, but Tinker's just gonna say screw that. Just gonna farm it up. Remember this, guys? This Tinker helped win a couple games with you and back when I was EG and I had to fight against it. How does it feel? And then EG's probably like, screw you, Bulba. But nah, I'm sure they're all still friends. As there has literally been no action for a while. Man, for the past almost 10 minutes, no kills. But you can see the graph going more and more in favor of the Dire. GPM rising for the OD. Jo is still farming up. Jo still has pretty high net worth, but OD 5k gold in the bank can get whatever he wants and still has Aegis up for the next 3 to 4 minutes. But I guess that is EG's answer. Just let Luna farm as much as possible and let her illusion split push. I mean, she still has 8 seconds left on her BKB. Means 8 seconds where her OD essentially can't do his full damage. And the question is, what will Korok get next? I guess once the Aegis expires, get a BKB himself. And get Trials, but other than that, I imagine Liquid still want their mecha. Unless somebody's trying to build up towards it. It looks like it is in IX Mike's mind to get that mecha, as Korok is going to venture very close to everybody. BKB is popped by Jo. Might have been a bit premature, as Korok's going to lose his Aegis. As is it going to be Liquid throwing? What is Korok doing? He's going to imprison himself, buy himself time, but really nobody on Liquid can reinforce it, and he's going to die. Top tier Dota right here. As Korok ventured in with no vision to the NAP in jungle and just paid for it with his life and Aegis and a buyback. So that's going to significantly slow down his next item purchase, but hey, at least they wasted another BKB charge. Maybe that was all an incredible mind game for Jo to use another BKB charge. I don't know. American Dota, best Dota. But EG probably just going to stand around for a bit. I mean, you can't really blame AG. Like, what can they do? They can't push in while Luna's BKB's on cooldown. And by the time it comes off cooldown, Bulba's just going to push like 8 more towers. So it's just a really, really awkward situation. If I was EG, I'd just try to stack camps for betas and hope that I can somehow manage to get a blink BKB happen. Because he's not using the wards for anything else. Might as well use it to clear a stacked camp or something. But still, I mean, even if he does manage to get that, he's still going to be very far away from whatever items he decides to go for. As Demon going to get sent right back home. Unfortunately, that Chen Pudge strategy only worked once thus far. Because Liquid really not putting themselves in any compromising situations. And Tinker actually picks up a Dagon. Dagon actually a very strong item on Tinker, especially since he now has a mana regen to sustain it. But now Tinker's actually out of buyback. If EG managed to kill Tinker, they could try to push in. But still, the problem with Tinker is that he never puts himself in risky situations. Remember the old days where Tinker would just farm up and sort of, you know, BKB, because BKB could be refreshed and farm up without fear. And then once BKB was nerfed, you know, he was in a little bit of danger sometimes. Barra could blink with the last, but now, you know, he just blinks away. Pros realize that, hey, we can just blink into the trees and you can't guess where we are. And keep in mind, no Barra on the side of EG anyway, so that's not an option. So super slow-paced game, but EG can't really do anything, and Liquid, you know, are very content to do this. BKB finished up on the Nyx. Does he have buyback? How fucking fun is this? Says Milk. Super fun. As you know, gotta play to win, and this is, you know, the best way to have fun, or the best way to try to win. IX like says I'm not having fun. Oh, Mike. But EG gonna continue to do stuff, and Liquid gonna continue to do other stuff. And the question is, who can do their stuff better? You know what? Screw this. I'm gonna 4 times speed this. Is that okay? That's normal speed. Screw pauses. I don't mean... What would I do? I'd bring down the goal graph like 800 more times and say, you know, goal graph in favor of the Dire. Something in favor of the Dire. Dire can do whatever they want. Rain can really not do too much. Yada yada yada. Gold, experience, items, blah 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 blah. Stuff. The question is, we don't really know until the next team fight breaks out. But Liquid should have the advantage. That's all I'm saying. I guess I can look at items. Satanic Fished up on Luna. Just finished it. Out of buyback. Ah! Slow down. Is that too slow? Slow motion? Nah. Fluff, Hex, Gem. New gem. Because Fear, having not fought in ages, still has his old gem. As looks like Liquid trying to do something. Interesting that Liquid be the first one to try to make a move, considering Korok has no buyback and no buyback money. But I guess they have the BKB, so they want to make something happen. Might just be a feint, as Demon gonna do next level hook onto the thin air. Checking out the items on Liquid. Again, you can see Mike trying to get the mechanism so that Korok will have access to another item slot. And you can see the rockets. It's super annoying. But Fear is just gonna tank it like a man. And Liquid trying to get in position. Bulba. As here comes the Blinking Hex onto Fury, is going to take a bunch of damage. He is going to be the first one to die. He's going to buy back immediately. But Sanity's Eclipse is going to be casted twice, and Jail actually couldn't BKB in time. Jail finally does pop the BKB, actually didn't die, but Eclipse has already been used and did get too many Lucid Beam charges, and now BKB is on cooldown. He doesn't have buyback. As here comes the initiation by Fear. Once again, Vacuum, unfortunately, did manage to get the wall off, but unfortunately, I'm not too sure how much wall will actually do in this situation. Hand of God was stolen by X Mike, managed to get the heal going. And Jail gonna get hexed into place. He might just get worked. He might just die in this engage and no buyback. And this could be curtains for EG as the Pudge hook combination able to hook that poor, unfortunate range creep. Milk gets just relentlessly beat down. And I think Liquid have got this game in the bag. So, looks like Liquid are gonna probably take the series. I mean, really, not much more can be said. GG's are not called, but you're against a freaking Tinker, and GG's are going to be called. And keep in mind, both teams pretty much played how they were supposed to in late game. EG, like, tried to farm up. I mean, I guess EG could have tried to do a desperation push, but it's so difficult to do it against a Tinker unless you have something like a Dazzle with Weave. And Liquid just got super tank. As GG Balba is the call. As all these American friends. But Liquid gonna take a nice series against EG. Overall played pretty solidly. I don't know how many mistakes. I think EG made like 1 or 2 mistakes that were pretty obvious in this game. In the first game they made a couple mistakes. That Roshan engagement comes to mind. But in this game they didn't really make too many game-changing mistakes. It was just maybe the picks, maybe just not capitalizing on the Chen. I feel like when you use Shadow Shaman, you really just need to get him experience, especially against a Tinker, where you desperately want to have that split push going, or the ability to at least take towers. So I don't think Shadow Shaman is the best pickup for Betas in this game. As Tinker gonna buy 8 Daggons. Korok gonna die here. As here comes Dagon Laser 1. And I'm gonna be casted. Only Melk Rage Quit, or not Rage Quit, because GG was called. As, oh, the hook whiffs. And Korok gonna escape. The game is over, guys. I'm just gonna watch a couple of shenanigans going around. As Jail gonna get chain stun, super fun. Tinker in late game, very fun to play against. Tinker in early game, also very fun to play against. Tinker in general, just a super fun hero to play against. I love Tinker. I love him so much. Actually, I don't mind playing against Tinker because I just pick Bat and just sort of lasso him. But still, Tinker, you know, very fun hero to play against. But yeah, Beatas is not pleased. But yeah, what were EG? Where did EG go wrong? Picks. I mean, I guess that's it, because they didn't really get outplayed too hard. I mean, they played how they should have for the most part. You guys just need to stop it. Stop. What are you doing, Tinker? What are you doing, Odie? Stop. Korok, Bulba, please, stop. But yeah, Liquid overall just showing that they can, in fact, beat a top team in a series. I mean, they managed to take games off Navi, beat Fnatic in, I think, one game. You know, took a series off Virtus.pro, but EG probably their first top team to take a full series off of. As I think Virtus.pro is pretty underrated, but probably not on the caliber of EG just yet. Maybe just slightly below, but EG, again, keeping up their inconsistency. They definitely have the talents. Maybe this will help them kick them into higher gear to keep practicing a bit harder. But as it is, Liquid going to definitely take this victory and run with it. Definitely going to do a lot in terms of improving their morale. But otherwise, you know, hopefully you enjoy this cast, even though it was very, very uneventful for the last 15 or so minutes. Hopefully you were still entertained nonetheless. Are you not entertained? Probably not, but still. But yeah, thanks for watching. Please subscribe to show your support. And I'll see you all next time. Peace.